Hello there and welcome back to my channel. Today I've got an incredible tutorial for you today. We are going to be wire wrapping some bird's nests because 'tis the season. Spring is here and I can't think of a better way to celebrate it. Before we get started with today's project though, I want you to do a couple things. First is give this video a giant thumbs up if you enjoy this content. And second, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel because those two things are very, very important for the health of the channel and just making sure things are, the word is spread. We want to make sure that all the fun tutorials are getting to the right people and that you guys are excited about using SilverSilk time and time again in the most creative and unusual ways. If you have no idea where you are, welcome to my channel. My name is Nilay Patel. I'm the owner, designer, and educator here at SilverSilk and More. And my job is to not only create the chains and do all of the shipping and all of the fun stuff behind the scenes, but also to educate you guys and giving you guys fun, exciting, creative tutorials that hopefully are easy for you to recreate or repurpose or interpret in your own way, because that's what creativity and the SilverSilk brand is all about. So why don't I flash over a photo of what this design is supposed to look like? And we're just going to move straight into my camera for my desk here and see what's going on. This tutorial is rather easy, just a few materials required. And before I get into it, I'm going to go over the tools that you'll need. First is a pair of wide nose pliers. These have been dipped in a product called Tool Magic. You can grab that from softflexcompany.com. The idea with Tool Magic is that it's a coating that you put on the tips of your pliers to prevent any sort of scratches and marring that might happen with using my end caps, which I'll get into a little bit later. It prevents scratching. It gives a good grip to anything that you're wanting to hold with your pliers. And they're just really soft. So it takes off the edge, if you will, of your pliers. And they're just a perfect pair to have. So wide nose pliers. I've got a pair of round nose pliers, pretty standard for jewelry making. You'll need a pair of chain nose pliers. And finally, you'll need a pair of cutters. These are excellent for craft wire, which we'll be using today, as well as our SilverSilk. So this brings me to my materials here. Here's essentially the earring that we're creating. Pretty fun and cool and birdie, of course, with the nest design there. So really, I've got the pair that I'm supposed to make, right? But we're just going to create the single earring, and then you'll just essentially double up on the materials. So for the single earring, you'll just need an earring hook. You'll need a double strand end cap, which looks like this. This is part of SilverSilk's custom findings. These findings are super special because they have notches inside of the end cap. And these particular notches pick up anything, or grip rather, whatever the chain is. In this case, we're going to be using leather knitted wire, or a better term for it is knitted leather cord. And so you'll just simply stick it inside of the channel and crimp with your wide nose pliers. And then those teeth are going to hook onto the little knits that are in here. But we'll talk about that in a second. So you'll need a pair essentially, because you get two per set. But we're using the one end cap for now. You'll need 3 4mm pearls. You can really use whatever beads that you want to create the eggs for the nest. I just had the pearls on hand. They're easy to understand, I think, if you're looking at it from far away. If you're going for really like a robin's egg, I could see a beautiful, like a Tiffany blue color working pretty well for your bead color. So just something to think about. It's very open-ended. You'll need 2 different sizes of wire. I've got a 20 gauge and a 26 gauge. The reason for that is that the 26 gauge will offer a lot of detail and I don't know, texture to your design, whereas the 20 gauge offers the sturdy stability shape that you'll need to create the nest. So it kind of works hand in hand. They work and pair beautifully together. You get some really great structure and shape while getting the finite details in your design. So have both of those on hand, and you'll need 18 inches per earring. So I went ahead and pre-cut mine, and this is in the antique bronze color. Okay, so again, to kind of match my end cap there, which I forgot to tell you the color, it's an antique brass color, or antique gold as it is on the website, which, speaking of, I had no information up about my website, so there it is. You can grab these supplies from silversilkonline.com. All right, last but not least is my knitted wire. So knitted leather cord is sort of a newish product that I've brought back. It's been out of market for about 6 years, I think, and I wanted to wait. I wanted to refine it, and I wanted to make it as robust as my other chains. And so I really took the time to research a proper size leather cord because 2 millimeter is too small and 3 millimeter is too big. What I landed on was a size in between that worked perfectly, and it's the same size as my other chains. So this size is about 2.5 millimeters in diameter, which matches my capture chain, burlesque chain, and I think that's actually it. Oh, and the pipe chain. But as in contrast to any of those materials, it does use a leather cord as the filler material. So this is a natural leather cord that has antique white knitted on top of it. You can grab this from the pop-up shop that I have for now, but I can see it down the road perhaps becoming a permanent product just because I love it so much. It is a gorgeous color combination, and the name of it that I've titled it is Birch, because birch trees have that beautiful white bark, and that natural leather element lends itself well to the wood colors. So it's just a beautiful, romantic name for a chain, I think. And true to its nature, it is quite flexible, doesn't fray at the ends wherever you decide to cut it. And it is ultra soft, perfect for knotting, which is sort of a newer technique to SilverSilk because you can't do this with the capture chain or the burlesque chain, and it's best suited for the leather, the knitted leather cord. So I have 18 inches to work with. This is really a scrap because I used a 3-foot spool to create one half of my earring, or actually both of them, and then I had to take one apart to show you guys how to recreate it. But really, each earring takes about maybe 7 to 8 inches. And there's a little bit of waste at the end just because of what we're going to be using or to create or not, essentially. But there's not a whole lot of waste. So the good news is if you work off of a 3-foot spool, which is how it's sold, it's just so easy to save the extra to create additional earrings or whatever you want to knot later on. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our design. I'm going to grab both of my wires. I'm going to get them all nice and equal in their length and get them ready to go. So you can also use a pair of nylon jaw pliers if your wire is kind of kinked or bent in place to just go ahead and straighten it out. In this case, I'm going to take both wires, find the center, and I'm going to wrap it around my finger twice and bring those wires down just like that. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. It just has to be essentially a ring that will start to wrap our leather cord around. So I'm going to set that aside for a second, and I'm going to grab my knitted leather cord. I'm going to grab the end of it here with my 3 fingers, and I'm going to make sort of an arrow or a pointy finger. And I'm going to use my thumb to kind of stabilize everything. So what I'm going to do is wrap it around my finger, keeping in mind that the end tail of my leather cord here is, again, tucked around my finger. So it should be on the bottom side of my finger there as I'm wrapping it. I'm going to pick up the loop that I just made with the wire, position it to where it's just below my finger, and I'm going to go around the coil that I just made I'm gonna go do that again. So just you're basically wrapping the leather cord at this point. I'm not gonna go through again. I just need to go twice. Okay. I'm going to now go through the 2 wraps that I just made as such. Okay. And then you'll basically start to pull everything tight. What you can do is scooch some of this down toward the end of your knitted wire if you really truly are wanting to preserve and make sure that you have plenty there to work with at the end. And so I'm just going to take my time to scooch it down. There's no rush for any of these tutorials. And so you can kind of play with it and just get it nice and positioned as such. Pretty easy stuff. Okay, I could go down a little more, it looks like, so I'm just going to continue playing with it. When you start to tighten everything up, that's when I think the real magic happens. So that looks pretty good. I'm just going to kind of, well, not squeeze, I guess that's what I was about to say. I'm going to pull it so that I've got my knots there working for me. Now this one has 3 knots, so I just realized I could go around another time and get my 3rd loop in there. So actually, let's do that. And my apologies for the confusion there. I dropped some of my eggs on the floor. So I should know better than to have beads on the floor or beads on my table. But I'll grab those in a second. So let me undo that for a second and let me go around again through the loop. Okay, there we go. I think I was just missing that one extra turn from before, but I should have 3 now. There we go. That's looking right. So now I'll just pull it, get it all nice and tight. You can use a little bit of glue if you want to secure it. I have noticed that if I pull tight enough, it's not going to go anywhere and it'll hold its shape pretty good. So that's really it for the knotting. As you can see, can make that pretty easy for the barrel knot there to hold my nest. And then the rest of this is just really taking it and creating some freeform coils. And you can weave this wire in and out to sort of sculpt your nest. I'm going to work with both wires at the same time. And it's okay to not be perfect with this step because that's the point, right? Birds' nests are not perfect in nature while they are very clever in architecture. So it's okay to be a little bit messy, a little bit crazy. You can use the assistance of your pliers if you want to really get this in and out of the coils that you're building. And then at the end, what I do is if I've reached the tip of my wire there, I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm just going to curl it in. The reason for that is I don't want that wire to stick out if it's being worn and poke someone. So I just sort of, and it could be an ugly loop. It doesn't matter because it's going to be covered up by the eggs, of course. But you just kind of work it around and around, and you can take the shorter wire and, of course, go in and out of that as well. And you'll do this to both pieces of wires here, both sets of wires. Okay. So there we go. Just gonna pull it tight. It'll want to kind of go anywhere. It's wire, so of course it's got a mind of its own. but you can kind of see the nest coming together pretty beautifully. We're going to use the smaller piece of wire to secure our eggs in place. So at this point, I can kind of split them and work with the single wire at the same time that I'm thinking about my eggs here. Okay, so I'm going to pull it up toward the middle. I can kind of press this down to get it a little bit more shaped and dimensional. That because a nest doesn't essentially need to lay flat, it can have a little bit of depth and dimension in it. And I'm going to figure out where my beads went here. I found two of them. So this might just have two eggs. But really, you just string on the amount of eggs that you want to. And I really wish I could find the other one, but I have no idea where it rolled off to. So this one's just going to have two eggs, and that's going to be okay. Be a little asymmetrical earring. So I'm just going to string those on, and I'm going to weave my little wire here back and forth until they're pretty secure in place. That just looks super beautiful, and it's so effortless to do this. Okay, pretty easy so far. You could see how much detail and interest that smaller piece of wire just adds to the design aesthetic here. Okay. And I kind of just weaved it back into my piece here. If you've got, again, that little bit sticking out, you can go in with your round nose pliers and just kind of loop it back in on itself. Or you could wrap it around one of these larger bits of wire. That is totally up to you. As long as it's not going to come out or stick out and poke anybody, then I think you're in pretty good shape. Okay, for this larger piece of wire, I'm going to just continue wrapping until I use it up. Okay, grab my round nose pliers, just give it a good curl, and lay it into my nest. It just kind of disappears. Okay, there we go. That looks really good. I enjoyed that shape a lot. It's just so different and organic and beautiful. I think it's really complementary to the crispness that the knitted wire chain is. So to finish out this earring, we're just going to gather both ends of our knitted leather cord. I'm going to measure it against this earring here. It looks like it's about yay big, which is not really helpful if you're I kind of just measure everything according to eyeball, right? That's where my symmetry is coming from. But you can customize this to be as long or as short as you'd like. Totally up to you. Okay, yep, still good. Okay, I'm going to grab my end cap. Now, here's the deal with the end cap. Sometimes it's not open all the way to where it's comfortable for you to stick in whatever material that you're wanting to crimp. So what I do is I grab my chain nose pliers and I just push out against my handles there to open up my end cap. And you'd be surprised at what a millimeter or two can do for crimping. And all you do is just stick that right in or on top of your knitted wires. I'm going to grab my wide nose pliers and give it a good squeeze. And that's really it. You don't need any glue. You don't need any special tools outside of your wide nose pliers. You can give this a nice little tug to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. Do fluff it up just by kind of pressing down on that knitted wire so that you got your nice round teardrop shape. And then simply you just attach your earring hook and you are good to go with your bird nest earrings. Pretty cool, right? All right, I'm gonna flip it back around to my face. And I just want to say thank you for joining me on this quick little tutorial on some wire wrap bird's nest. And if you enjoyed this content, please give this video a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find out more about SilverSilk at silversilkonline.com. Follow us on Instagram. Check out our entire YouTube library. There is a boatload of inspiration out there with different types of chains, different projects. All the cool techniques you can learn are cataloged in there in the live videos section of YouTube. And finally, you can find us at the SilverSilk Silkies Facebook group, which is right here over on Facebook. And it's a really great little group of creative individuals that enjoy using SilverSilk and post all their pictures and projects. And it just gets us inspired to create more. So I leave you guys hopefully inspired, a little educated, and super jazzed about SilverSilk. So I will see you again at the next tutorial. Love all of you guys. Again, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Bye.